they're a cult. And no matter how, like, I think my mom and her friend Eli has a saying. The saying is, no matter how much you wrap a monkey in gold, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a monkey. So
Golden monkey.
a golden monkey, yes.
Still a monkey.
But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a monkey.
Welcome to Worship and Waves, and for this episode, we're going to talk about different modern ways other churches are worshiping on Sunday. So we're going to take a look at other videos. So first, what do you think of the way we do our worship?
Like, okay, so we have to remember that service is not, it's not a restaurant. We don't serve, like, you don't serve people. It's not supposed to be consumed. It's an act of worship. And I like how we've been keeping true to our original, as much as possible, to our original worship, uh how do I say it, program. And I think that the music is great. So thank you. Wait, so this is a plug-in. Thank you, Josh Stars, for and wife Amor Sarigumba,
What?
for your your really your efforts in making our Sunday worship really lively.
From what I've seen from my Sunday worship, I've seen lots of people do it differently. You know what I mean? I've been to different churches. Listened to different bands play their music. Some are more, you know, uh, solemn. Some do just pure hymns because they explain that's how it was done back in the old days. And so, back in the old days, back in time. But I kind of think about it that in that way, a lot of people adapted to what they had back then. The instruments that they had in which they could create music, and you couldn't really make any wild music back then with the instruments they had. And nowadays that we have stuff like drums, we have electric guitars, we have bass, violins, or whatever, or pianos and whatever, we can create beautiful music in a style that I probably think the old churches wouldn't really wouldn't get. But for me, music in itself will always glorify God as long as the people's hearts and the people who are singing. This isn't for anybody else but for God. And if they get that, His service, no matter how you sound or how you sing, it'll glorify God. And a lot of people are kind of missing that point where they see music as a show.
Exactly.
So you're playing for the people out there, for the listeners. You're
For the
milking the
tithers,
cattle.
that's for the
Yeah.
tithe.
I mean, if your thought process is like that, then you're not worshiping the Lord. You're not doing this for God.
I have a
You're not
word that
glorifying Him. You're
I have
okay.
a word that summarizes Rory's whole entire thing. It's yikes.
Yeah.
That's yikes.
It's like we listen to Hillsong and stuff like that, and it sounds really good. These people worshiping the Lord, and they have great voices, and and the way that they put their music together sounds really good. There's nothing wrong with that. Because these people, they want to praise the Lord in that way. But the moment when you stop thinking, like, you tell your bandmate you sound so bad on the piano or on the guitar or whatever, or your singing isn't up to par like what we're supposed to be listening to in the other church, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. This is something personal and something between you and your church, and using the best of your abilities to create beautiful music for the Lord. And baka lang maging unang uban na, or, I'm sorry, I broke it. Even if other people say that you don't sound good, you sound like a dying frog or whatever. The point is that's not what you should be focusing on. You should just be focusing on, will this glorify the Lord or not? Because the Lord said, if you guys won't sing for Him, even He'll even make the stone sing, right? So I think that's what a lot of people are missing. A lot of people put so much emphasis on how it sounds, so much emphasis on, will this be attractive to other people? I mean, who cares about other people? That's not the point you go to church for. That's not the. You didn't go to show off your new clothes or whatever. You didn't show. You didn't go to church to show off your voice or your skills with the guitar or your many gadgets that you connect your guitar to. I mean, it's not all. This isn't a show. I mean, I'm nothing against those gadgets. If those gadgets make that guitar sing, and and that's your way you respect the Lord with, you put all that together. To be honest, I have a member in our church that has a lot of these gadgets, and I'm like, wow, this must be super expensive.
I
It's worth
who I guess
worth the
who
money.
I can I guess who it is,
I don't know. It's
are we
not
not, are we
me.
not name
It's,
dropping?
I will not name dropping. But my point is that people start to miss out on the point. I've heard so many Christians and so many people saying, the worship was lackluster or whatever. If you're there for the music, well, we listen to a band. Is it like
Yeah,
tickets,
so I think Rory is really right. Like it's not a concert.
pay per
Like
view?
worship is you worshiping God and the music helping you do that. But if you focus too much on the music, then it's like you're worshiping the music and not God. So
Exactly.
service is not a concert. It's not a social gathering where you see your friends and do this thing. And then when the thing is done, like socialize. No, so like it's a personal thing that you devote yourself to.
But
Like
I'd like to ask you things. Let's go back to the original question. How do you think our service, plays out? I mean, personally, our own little music band and our singers. How do you think it's honoring the Lord? I mean, I think we're honoring the Lord, don't you think?
For me, I do think that we are honoring the Lord because we're not forcing um, excellence. We're not kicking people up because they miss a day or they miss practice. We're not being super strict about that. And there a lot of times we make mistakes. And I remember we had a visitor several years ago. We had a visitor who also often goes to church somewhere else and then just came to our church for a couple Sundays. And then she said to me, I think it was me and someone else, but she said, "You guys aren't too strict about your worship, right? Because in my other church, you're not allowed to make mistakes." So I it kind of like it's a low key diss because she just told me that we made a bunch of mistakes, but then we're not
but
there to be like
but
to perform or
like
something.
I think that's so weird. Like okay, so like when you worshiping is giving your best, right, to the Lord. And well, we're human beings and we make mistakes. So yes, we like I think we should like dispel the thing. Like no, we do not condone just giving whatever to the Lord. Like our music ministry is not like that. We're not based like that. We don't think that, oh, as long as you get on stage and as long as you do what you do it, then it's fine. No, like we do our best. We give like, well, I don't know about you guys, but like I give my heart and soul when I play the piano for God because that's what He expects. And if I make a mistake, then it wasn't intention. And I think we need to like go back to what worship really is all about. It's about giving your best to the Lord because He deserves that. And it's not a play or it's not for entertainment. And as long
Yeah,
as you give your best 100%, the Lord knows that. And well, if people notice that you're making mistakes, then maybe that's also a sign that you should practice more. Like the Lord, yes, knows that you're doing your best at that time, but then I think this is something Josh has been mentioning about like mastery and getting good at the basics, and I think you should. It's like common sense. It's like you could quote unquote wear sweatpants to church, but should you? Like, shouldn't you wear your best? So same thing with your skills as a musician. Yeah, you could just play it anyway and say you're doing your best, but should you? Does God deserve that? Is that God honoring? So I think it also comes to the point where even though our music ministry isn't that strict, but are you really giving your all to God? Something like that.
I like to chime in on that. It's like the whole Cain and Abel thing, right? Best you can offer. You can't give anything that's not your absolute best whenever you do something to the Lord. I think back then when I was like not really playing the piano, but I just play, the opening song. There are times where I made mistakes. I can't believe, I'm not even playing, for a lot of people at the time. I can remember when our church was a bit smaller then, and I wasn't even playing for a lot of people back then. But I would get so nervous. I would always tell myself, "Why are you so nervous playing? This is for God. You should, have the confidence of, a grown man when you're doing it." And yet every time I play, my fingers sometimes, press. The moment I press a wrong key, I freeze. I think that's one of the things that really drew me away from playing the piano. And that's one of the things where I think maybe this piano thing is not for me. Maybe I should give this up to our
Nah,
younger
that's something
generation.
we have to work on, Rose,
You know,
so that you can
not
get
really to
back
work
on the
on.
team.
If I have a feeling if you abandon something in particular, I mean, maybe it's just not for you. You know what I mean? Maybe you're not that. I think the musically talented thing. The the Lord gives us several gifts, right? I mean, like not just like, for example, you're really good at like you and Enrique. You're such talented musicians. You guys have a lot of skill. I can really respect that. Did you guys put in the effort? You don't just practice during practice time. You actually practice when you're at home. I hear my brother play the piano in several songs when he's at home. I'm pretty sure Josh is always, practicing at home, trying to, better himself. So that's the effort you put in. But you have a talent for something like that. I mean, people like me that aren't very talented with, music. You could. I think I dumped in a lot of time. I tried to do that with the piano. And I dumped in a lot of time, and it wasn't really as fruitful as what I thought it was. And I think the Lord has picked me to do something else other than instruments or something where the Lord can use me better with the talents that He's given me.
Here, I'm going to show you one of the most influential churches when it comes to music and their worship music.
Is it Hillsong?
No, uh,
I was just gonna. Like, I had to ask. Is it?
there's a trifecta right now. Like there are three of them. This is probably the most influential when it comes to like how much people how many people know them and know their songs. So I like how their music sounds. No, but yeah, could you imagine us doing something like that on on stage? Like for us, could you imagine?
I don't think it's a bad thing. Like even in the Old Testament, right? The people prophesied and 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 they entered that kind of thing. But my fear is, will it become a distraction from those who are trying to worship God? And it's no longer the worship, but it's looking at someone and then copying what they're doing. So like watching the video has actually given me a quote unquote idea. Why is it that the music band is at the front? Why isn't it at the back? Like in a video game, I guess the worship team should be like BGM or the background music. We're not the focus. So why is the music team or singers in the front on the stage when it's really not about them? Isn't it supposed to be worshiping the one true God? So shouldn't it be that the music team should be at the back of the congregation while the congregation is singing and worshiping God, not facing the band because it's not about the band. Who cares about the band, right? it's all about Jesus and about God. So I think, like, I'm really excited. I think if we could adopt that, that the congregation will not face the band because it's not really about them, but would face something else and would I don't know. I just got this idea by watching the movie that you shared. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
With the space that we have right now, I don't think I'm not sure how we can do that.
Like speaking about that really quick, like I think with our space we could just easily just change how the chairs are arranged instead of like a longitudinal, like a
Actually,
vertical, horizontal. So like the it's being projected on the wall, and that's what where we're facing at the wall,
Oh
while the
yeah,
music team's on the side.
yeah.
So I think
Remember our Christmas party? Like
yeah, something like that, something like
yeah,
that.
maybe
that's
maybe we can talk. We
We
can
could
talk
talk
about
about
it.
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is really good talk. This has been really productive because I think it really does show that sometimes we are like drawn into this worldly culture where there has to be someone. We're always looking at someone, and as Christians, that doesn't have to be like we don't have to look at the band. We don't have to look at what they're doing because at the end of the day, worship is a personal thing. Like the band is just a tool to help you worship.
This next church or group is a bit more conservative. It's not. Uh, I think they're Anglican Reformed. I guess.
You slept beneath the stars you named and numbered. Were tempted in a desert you designed. You faithfully obeyed the law you authored. The king left his throne behind. You washed the feet of those who called you master and fed the multitudes with truth and bread. You shared the feast with harlots and with sinners, and loved those who sought your death. Glorious, Lord, you are glorious. Shepherd and King, forever you'll be glorious.
So with that one, they're not so as showy as the first one. Oh, by the way, the first one is Bethel. You asked if it was Hillsong. It's Bethel, and they're one of the most influential when it comes to their music. And a lot of people go to their churches and actually treat it as a pilgrimage, kinda, to join their worship service for one time, two times, and just because they saw the videos or they heard their music. And the second one is not as big, but we've played some of their songs already. They don't have all the light shows. They're more like us, except they have better stuff. So, what do you guys think of that second one?
So I think like I guess it's more of musical taste if that makes any sense. I think the first one was kind of really geared towards the modern or younger generation, where it's really like uh, worshiping with your emotion. And I think the second one was emotional as well, but also more cerebral. Like the words really helped us like help remind why we were worshiping. And I like both because I guess I'm just that kind of guy. Like for me, it doesn't really matter what musical style is chosen as long as the lyrics are Bible based, as long as it leads you to worshiping God, as long as it does the job where you are in communion with the one true God. So yes, they were different musically and stylistically, but I think both also got the desired effect, which is worshiping the one true God.
I agree with my brother on that. I don't think I have much to say on that. I completely agree with my brother.
Let's move on to some local churches now. This is one of the bigger churches here in the Philippines, and Let's take a look.
Keep your hands going like this, hey! Oh, all of creation singing as one, declaring the coming of the Emmanuel. Our God is with us. Sing a new song to our God, for in Him we have overcome. Raise the anthem of our love. Hallelujah, hope has come.
Remember when you King, when you said that we should try and talk about how we should form our congregation to look at the wall maybe, and we would be at the sides. Now for this one, they're actually surrounding the worship team. So just wanted to point
Yeah,
that out.
actually, that actually was really big turn. Like I know this is weird. That's actually a big turn off for me because it's like uh, forgive me. It's like one of those metal bands where you have your groupies around you and they're like jumping. I know that's not what, but it gives off that vibe, which is really I don't appreciate that vibe, and I hated how casual it is because like you don't casually worship God. You don't casually worship the creator of the universe. You don't casually worship the being that gave you life, that gave you purpose. And like I couldn't help but notice like everyone was in t-shirts and like in like skinny jeans and
But it's cool,
their
King.
their clothing choice was like personally I think was really off because then if you make worshiping God so casual, then you are also like in great danger by making your relationship with that awesome and wonderful and all powerful, all knowing, ever present being casual. Then you think it for granted. Like, oh yeah, I'm worshiping God. I'm in my sweatpants. I have my hoodie on. I've got like I've got my iPad. I've got my iPod. Like I've got a drink. Yeah, let's do this worship. Yeah, jump, jump, jump. And then what? What does it do to you? How does that impact you? How does that impact your view on who this God you worship is? So for me, it was very scary and dangerous. What do you think, Rory?
I don't understand this point actually. You know, they were. I mean, is there like a standard to worshiping God? Is there like, you should do it this way, you should do it that way? I mean, the first video you made us watch, they were like on the ground and everything, right? I mean, they were practically on their knees and they were doing. That's the way they worship God, and their congregation feeds off of that. I guess I don't know if that's like the way they get them into the worshiping mood or whatever. And the other one was doing it in a very interesting way. They were very solemn. They were very to themselves. They were just singing, and it was still had the same emotional effect. And then the third video, the third clip that you brought us, the one you showed us that we could see, they had a very unique, when I saw that circle, I was kind of confused for a moment what I'm watching. But other congregations, other churches, they have their own style of worshiping the Lord. I mean, I think how many churches I've been to. I've been to several, and most of the way they worship, band in the front, then the band goes down when the sermon's about to start, and then I mean, if we did it in a different way, imagine Kuya Josh going, on the guitar and start kneeling or whatever. I don't know, and the piano guy stop playing the piano because he's also getting emotionally attached to whatever is happening. Is there rules for us
No, can I
the way?
chime in? Because
Yeah,
Rory
please, please.
really, really brought up a
I,
interesting topic. Like, who cares?
Hmm.
So who cares if your pianist has his head on the piano
Yeah.
or your guitar? Who cares? It's not about them.
Yeah.
How like if you care so much about that, it becomes a distraction and it's no longer worshiping. It's for entertainment. Like, oh, look at these guys, and maybe I should do the same. Then you're no longer truly worshiping God. You're just pressured to do what they're doing because, oh, they're doing that. I should do that as well, or else I won't be viewed as a quote unquote true worshiper. I need to put my head on the ground. I need to like have a mini seizure or whatever. Like forgive me. I know it's like
It's
some people really do it out of their heart because they're worshiping, but other people just do it just because other people are doing it, and we come into that zone or that
the gray
danger
line.
zone that people aren't really worshiping. They're just copying other people. And that's why I really advocate right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like we should not focus on the band. Who cares what the pianist is doing? Who cares what the drummist is doing? Who cares what the guitarist is doing? Like who cares? It's they're worshiping and you should be more focused on yourself worshiping God than what other people are doing. So I dislike that circle house party jump thing that they were doing at the end. It was so weird. Like it was so off-putting. I know that they did not mean it for it to be like that, but I would not be comfortable worshiping in that kind of way. What do
So
you think, Corey?
where do we draw the line? I mean, you know, churches everywhere have their band in the front, right? I mean, we can agree with that. I mean, most of them do.
Most.
I mean, wherever you see a church where they're at the back and you're just staring at a blank wall. I'm not like
No,
hating.
you don't have to stare
I
at the
know,
wall. I mean,
I
you could
know.
stare like at the projected lyrics because let's be honest, not all of our church
And if
members know what
but not
the
but you
song's
know, I
lyrics.
mean, there are churches where they don't have any projected lyrics. People are singing from the memory. I know there's some members, like you know, the big churches that we see in these videos and stuff. They memorized everything, right? I mean, let's put that in the context. Let's just say, I mean, I think it's a good idea that you shouldn't be distracted. I think that the band in the front can be a distraction depending on what they're doing. And I get your, the jumping and then the ones on the floor. And I mean, if the band was just like rocking out for the Lord on like, just being in front, is that enough for being a distraction? Or
I
do
think
you think it
it's
should?
more of it's intrinsically what a human being is. Like you see something in front of you, you're gonna look at it, and if you look at it, you're gonna think about it. So like for us to be really really safe, let's remove that quote unquote possible distraction.
So,
It's like the golden calf in when Moses went up that mountain to take the Ten Commandments. Let's remove that uh, possible distraction. So there is no reason for our church congregation to be distracted since there's not anything there.
I mean, it's just a case by case for every church that we have to look at. I mean,
And I think it
there's some members that respond differently to their band. Like the first one, we definitely saw how they responded to their band. The second one, they responded differently to their band. And I mean, putting these people in front, and I get what you said about wearing your best for the Lord. I mean, like those guys are like wearing sneakers and
yeah,
everything.
sneakers like
they
that
were
was
they were super,
insane.
that
Like
was super.
you're in church worshiping the creator of the world wearing sneakers.
I mean, some people just don't have other things to. If how many of let me ask, are some of our musicians wearing sneakers when they go to church?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, is that super casual? I mean, like I get it. You wear you're trying to serve the Lord, you're trying to worship, yeah, and then you're wearing jeans, sneakers, and a polo. That's
So
acceptable.
like
I
okay,
mean, not like a
so
polo
let me
polo.
define it this way. Like
Yeah.
if that's the best pair of sneakers you have, those are the best pair of jeans you have, and that's the best polo you have, then great, go.
What about those
But
casual guys?
But
Give
if
it
like
those
if you were just
those-
wearing it just cause I feel like wearing this because like yeah I
But is
feel
that
like
the vibe you
wearing
got from them? They were just wearing all these clothes because they
it
just
like
they were
like
trying to
like
be like that edgy little.
that's the thing
It felt
like
like a youth party or something.
it looks like
Yeah.
a youth party and that is a problem because I think Christianity and the churches and youth churches have been hypnotized like yeah you've got to get along with the youth, yeah you've got to adjust, and yes I do agree that we have to stay relevant with what they think is relevant, but we should not adjust basic principles
I
like
did note.
wearing your best for the Lord,
I did
being the
notice.
best for the Lord.
I didn't notice part of their crowd was rather youthful. I mean, the last clip.
Was it?
Yeah,
Or am I wrong?
I thought I saw a good majority of the youth there. But I'm thinking, does the church adapt its? I mean, like I said, this is a case by case thing. I mean, like, does a church adapt music worship? Are we supposed to do this in like a uniform way, or can a church do its own style and its own way depending on the needs of the church? Because in essence, everything is right. This is supposed to be worshiping the Lord, no
It's
matter
supposed to be
what you do.
personal, yeah.
Yeah,
So I really agree with Rory. Yes, and I agree wholeheartedly. Yes, it's supposed to be a case by case basis, like where you are. Like some cultures, they have a certain standard of
yeah.
what is more formal
Hmm.
and etc.
Yeah.
So we should look at it with those eyes as well. But we should also remember that what worship is, the spirit
Yeah.
of worship. You are before the Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth, the one who gives you life, the one who took away your sins, the one who leads you day by day, the one who provides everything you need, and you're wearing sneakers
So if
or flip flops.
if you were like we just showed us 3 videos, right? Which video would you be in? And like which crowd would you be situated in out of
Like
the
honestly,
children?
the vibe that I liked the best was the middle one.
I like the
Okay.
second one too, yeah.
I
Same,
like
but
the second, but I still hated how the band was at the center of it all. And there's a song that we don't sing anymore. Jesus at the center of it all because it's a Hillsong song. Anyway, uh,
name drop.
but I like the lyrics, and the lyrics are really true. So it's supposed to really be Jesus at the center of it all, and not your music band at the center of the worship, or your pastor, or your whatever. It's supposed to be God. So let's keep it that way, guys. Let's like what Rory said, and I really love what Rory shared. Like, yes, there is uh cultural context. Yes, there is church context. But let's just remember Christ-centered worship, God-centered worship, not band-centered worship, not pastor-centered worship, not gadget-centered worship, not like physical, like oh they have a really nice stage. No, nothing like that. Let's remember why we worship and to who we're worshiping.
With all of these, like what Courageous showed us, how they commercialize all these bands and how people can get into them. You'd even come to say some of these other churches are being like what my brother was speaking earlier, being influenced and copying how these other bands are, doing the worship. Like if we're like a starting out church, right? Like let's say you're just fresh off the bat, and you're trying to make your own band. You're picking songs, and then you go on YouTube and you start watching like Bethel, Hillsong, you start watching those other bands, more casual. It's like I don't think it's like just randomly pick something randomly. There's a lot of young kids in our church. Might as well just throw on the sneakers and unbutton, polo or something. I mean, when we go to church, our church personally, right? We usually wear either formal or semi-formal clothes. Some do full dresses, some go with jeans and
Which I
polo.
appreciate. I really
Yeah,
appreciate those
I do.
those people who
I
take
mean,
time.
we really try to look our best with what we have. I mean, some of us just don't own slacks because some of us work from home. Wearing owning a pair of slacks is actually kind of useless. And other people, need some jeans, because some people have slacks and wear the black shoes or whatever. People are very comfortable with what they wear, so you wear your best, right? And in the same way, like for starting church, how would you approach that? I mean,
I
like, look, I mean, you're looking at all these other people. You have no other. Let's just say some people have an idea of how a band is supposed to be run. But
but
it's
then
just that
again,
thin line between what is acceptable as a church. Like, if everybody had the thought that praising the Lord is the number one thing, praising the Lord is, and then they start letting these like little details about what I wear, how I praise. But if how I praise, does how I praise change that I'm praising the Lord in the way I praise it? Or,
but the thing is, like we have to go back to what you said. So okay, so like what are the factors that affect praise? And it's really denominational. We said there's the cultural factor, like where you are, right? So like what would be a formal thing sa Pinoy or Filipino person? You'd be wearing barong Tagalog and what's that, Maria Clara, I think. Or if you're an American, you'll wear Americana or is it suit and tie. But then there's also another factor which is your denominational factor. So like what denomination you belong to really affects how you worship. So we're
yeah,
Christian Reformed, right? So we're really conservative, and we saw that the first one was kind of charismatic. So that's how they
true.
find worship. That they're very emotional, which is not a bad thing because worship really engages the whole entire person, your
So
emotions, your thoughts, and everything. So when your question about how would a church find how to worship, then it
yeah,
really depends on their denomination. Because when you are prescribed under a certain denomination, then there are certain standards of what quote unquote worship should be and how it looks like. So that's it.
I,
Culture and denomination.
so you, like for example, the band that Kuya Josh was showing us, they were American. Am I correct?
Or were they
Were they
Australian?
they were
Is
American? Were
Bethel
there some
American?
Aussies in there?
Bethel is America, and yeah.
And
Okay.
then what about the other two?
The first two were American, and the others were the third, I guess, was Philippines.
The third was Wait,
I'm not
what?
even surprised about the
Wait,
third.
wait. The third was Philippines. The
Yes,
third,
Yeah,
he did. He said from a local church, I
local
think.
a
church,
local church, right?
Victory.
Wow, wow. Anyways, I kind of understand, like from an American standpoint, like how they're doing this. In the culture, they're more on being more liberated than in the Philippines, where we're more conservative. I'm surprised you said the third one was Filipino. From our standpoint, where we're more. I mean, a lot of people here are mostly, Catholic, right? We have a more conservative Christians, but most of us have this kind of conservative outlook. And what, as my brother was mentioning about how a denomination and your culture would affect the way you worship, where you are in the Philippines or where you are in the States, or the way that your denomination allows you to worship. I mean, like for us, we're not like that, right? In our church, we're where we gain, where we get our music choices, how we run our music team. It's not like one of those iron fists. This has to go this way, and I think that Enrique said it one of the best ways, where wear your best, right? We're not asked to wear, like, it's not like we can't enter the church if we don't have a suit on. We don't have a church if it's not long sleeve. But I noticed most of the males in our church, we wear either a polo or a polo shirt. And I think that's fine. That's formal enough. Uh, some of us wear sneakers. Some of us that I see another members wear more formal stuff. And culturally, and I think in the denomination, I think we're pretty free with the way that we conduct music. And I know that sometimes we not really judge. I mean, we kind of are critical of how other people worship, but then we come back with where other people just say, we should be focusing on ourselves and the way we conduct our worship with God. And a lot of people use that as an excuse to do more casual things, like my brother mentioned about, you're supposed to be giving the Lord your best, and you're supposed to uh, be focusing on Him, and there shouldn't be any distractions in front of you. And I think that it still works with us, even as in our church. I mean, I don't think that the music team in our church is taking away from the praise or the focus from our God. Okay, every time I worship, sometimes I just close my eyes and I'm just so in the music that I don't even,
And
mind the
that's
band.
like, let me chime in. That's the point. Like, yeah, so you're so in because you're not concentrating on anything else. So who cares
So it's not like
about the band?
is
Who
that
cares what
the
they look like? Who cares what they're doing?
is
Like,
that the congregation? Is that on the congregation? Is
so
that
that's
on
the
the
problem.
band?
Most of the congregation, or if not all the congregation, are not like you. Some of
Yeah.
them are really distracted by what other people are doing. But if we remove that, then my hope would be that you could focus more on what needs to be focused on
Wait,
instead of, ooh, look at our guitarist, he's a new haircut, or look at our pianist, his like his beard has gone so long he hasn't cut in
I forgot
ages.
one. Oh, look at all of those gadgets on the ground near our guitarist. Some of them are blinking.
So something like that, like
Do you think
needless
recorded
distractions.
music is bad for the church? It has to be live.
For I think we're like, okay, so
Just
let's
play it
be
through a
honest.
speaker.
I don't prefer recorded music. I
Yeah.
think as much as possible it has to be live because then it's more organic. And what is
Yeah,
what who
it
cares if
feels
it's organic or
inauthentic.
not? It has to be organic because when it is in live, it is live or in like real life time, then you really feel part of that. Like it's I can't describe it. It's something special that you are worshiping with the music, and that music is being produced at that very moment. And I think those two factors come in and fit in very nicely together compared where you have pre-recorded music. But if your situation does not allow you to have uh, music played live, then you should use pre-recorded music. It's fine. But as much as possible, I think that worship should be live and spontaneous, because that's what worship is. It is live and spontaneous communication, and and you being and offering yourself to the Lord.
Good. I can't wait till you guys become pastors of our church. With your
No, actually, this is a spoiler alert, but I think that there will be very good news about that coming your way.
I can't wait to hear that. So speaking of clothes or the what the congregation wears, let's go to the more extreme now. Let's see. This is still a
Wait, we're
low.
not done. I thought the last one was the last one.
There's a couple more, but I'll skip some because we've. Let's try this one. This is another local church.
I think it's skippable. Oh no.
Many a day increase the troubled me. Many a day that rise up against me. Oh, Lord, our shield for me, my glory and the lifter of my
Okay, so we know who. Do you know? Do you guys know who that?
Yes. Yes, we do. Like New Jerusalem, Davao. Yeah, that gave it away. That just gave it away.
So yeah, they're more on the extreme formal side. There are choirs and a lot of music, and it's not
Orchestra, I think. They had a
orchestra.
live
Yeah,
orchestra.
it's not as casual as the other churches that we've seen in tonight. So I don't
Okay,
like us
so now let's be honest. Okay,
to.
let's just be real and cut the crap. They're a cult, and no matter how, like I think my mom and her friend Eli has a saying. The saying is, no matter how much you wrap a monkey in gold, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a monkey. So
Golden monkey.
a golden monkey, yes.
Still a monkey.
But at the end of the day, it's gonna be a monkey. There's that. Like you can't glorify a cult and still call it worship. Like forgive me for that, but it's the truth, and that's just how it is. They're not really worshiping. They're actually in the reverse, which is very scary for all those people involved.
If this was from a different church, like say this was say this was from a different church that had this grandeur type of worship, something that wasn't cultish. Let's just say something which is normal. Would this be acceptable? I mean, like I understand that these people, they're well dressed. If we're saying, are you dressed for the Lord? These boys are well dressed. You see all of those violins, you see how much effort they're putting into it, and you're starting to think that the effort that they're putting in, I know what my brother's probably thinking, the effort they're putting into it is, that's becoming a distraction in itself. But if these people, let's just say they had the same thing, they had the same setup, the same big thing, but everybody wants to glorify the Lord, it's still gonna be a big distraction
Yes.
for the
So
for the congregation,
I'm gonna
for
throw
the
the
worship
question.
not to be.
Yes, I'm gonna throw the question to Ray or Josh. Like, who would you be looking at when you're worshiping? There's so many things to look at. There's so many lights.
Who I'd be looking at, probably the prettiest girl in the
You see, so like that defeats the purpose of worship. You're no longer concentrating on God. You're looking at someone and something instead of who you're supposed to be focusing on. So I think less is more in this case when it comes to worship. Like less distractions is way more.
So let's close this with one more. We won't have to make comments about this, we'll just close the episode with this. This is another local church, and let's see if you guys know who these are.
Oh,
What's so fun between you?
oh, that was good. That was really good.
Could be last, could be
Yeah.
last year.
To be honest, I'm really blessed. Like, I haven't been able to see this, but I'm really blessed by Ate